To clean up the capital's toxic air. It's not just the odd even formula or the ban on new diesel vehicles. The state also wants to shut down thermal power plants. How will this impact power production? And is this a viable solution? Joining us now to talk about this is the former chairman of NTPC, Arup Roy Choudhury. Mr. Choudhury, appreciate you joining us. The Delhi government has issued a show-cause notice to your former company, NTPC, seeking the closure of the Badarpur thermal power plant. We understand that NTPC hasn't responded to the show-cause notice just yet, but it is likely to oppose the move by the Delhi government. How would you respond to this? We had Tata Power Delhi, the Discom company, speaking to us saying that even if the plant were to be closed down, Delhi would not face any power supply disruption. Would you agree with that?
Actually, I may or may not agree with that, but we have to understand the genesis of these plants having been set up. Ideally, we all know that should be pithead plants. But you know, we are a federal state. Everybody wanted a plant in their geography. Delhi wanted a plant of their own. Badarpur is an old plant which NTPC had taken over. And in fact, if Badarpur is shut down by an order, it will be a boon in disguise for NTPC, because NTPC is losing money in Badarpur. There's a huge
So why would NTPC then oppose the show-cause notice, sir?
I'm not aware, because I'm not currently in NTPC to say whether we've opposed it. But as far as I know, while I was there, we had proposed shutting down Badarpur to the CERC, because we were losing money in Badarpur. As far as Dadri is concerned, it was built for Delhi. And Delhi cannot say today that they don't want the power and they can do by taking power from the grid, because that's not the system the country developed its power. Badarpur, Dadri was done for the Commonwealth Games, for making Delhi self-sufficient in power. Delhi's own power projects like Indraprastha and all are very old. They should be shut down, there is no doubt about it. But shutting down Dadri is a very difficult proposition for the country, I would say. Why NTPC? Because then the whole philosophy of setting up load-based power plants near the stations which require the power, the basic philosophy of having the geography of power plants, this will all go for a six, you know. So one needs to think about these things.
You're right. So you're saying that while you were at NTPC, you yourself had proposed to the CERC the closure of the Badarpur power plant. So you would actually welcome the Delhi government's idea to shut the Badarpur thermal power plant down. And in fact, the Delhi government is only proposing to shut it down till the middle of March, as per the show-cause notice. But let me ask you about the argument that the central government seems to be putting on the table, saying that the islanding scheme will be in jeopardy if the closure of these plants were to take place. Also saying that the Delhi government must give a thought to the legal sanctity of the power purchase agreements that have been signed.
There are two different issues. One is the islanding is required for Delhi, because we saw a major catastrophe when there was a grid failure, and the islanding position has been worked around. Badarpur is part of the islanding, the other stations also part of the islanding. Now, I think that's the right, that point is right. We should take into consideration how the islanding has been done for Delhi and which plants contribute to the islanding. The second point is, you know, very frivolous, because what was the second point you said, Shereen?
The second point was the sanctity of power purchase agreements, Mr. Choudhury.
Yeah, well, that is, you know, at the moment very frivolous to raise that now, because these plants have attained their financial closure based on the power purchase agreements. So nobody can go back on that at the moment. Until the financial closure is achieved, if the plant is made for 25 years, then it should be made free, and that also some governments are opposing. Singrauli, for example, should be now made free to NTPC. It's already achieved 25 years. So, you know, there is the dichotomy in what we are talking about in this thing. And I think it's very unfair if the PPAs are cancelled in between. Now, it should never be done.
So let me ask you this, Mr. Choudhury. In a minute, what would you propose as the solutions, given that both sides may have legitimate concerns today, but really it's an emergency situation in the national capital?
No, I understand that the price of power is going up. I would say Badarpur going is not such a bad idea for NTPC. Dadri has to remain. If Dadri power cost is high because of not because of NTPC, it is because of the cost of railways, the cost of coal which is coming in. One needs to audit these costs very strictly, make Dadri as cheap as possible, and then probably bundle this power with cheaper power if some cheaper power is available. That's the only way of reducing the tariff. For reducing tariff, we don't shut down plants. Because today you may have surplus power in the grid. What will happen tomorrow for a plant which has been set up for Delhi?
Well, this is today, it's not so much about tariff as it is about emission and trying to control emission and bring down emission in the National Capital Territory. But Mr. Choudhury, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18 with your thoughts and your perspective on the matter. That was the former chairman of NTPC weighing in on the crisis, the pollution crisis in the capital. With that, we're